coming to you live from the San Francisco Bay Area. It's time for Zig in the Zone with Ralph Zig Tyko.
Actually, coming to you from Alameda, California, give it up for Ralph Zig Tyko.
Hey, we are back. Pauly, how are you?
Pretty good. Oh man, I don't even want to know what happened to the other guy. How does he look? I want to send him a flower or something. Wow.
Second time in 2 years, I tripped over a curb, and very humbling because I did basically a face. What do
A
they
face
call
plant. A face
it?
plant.
Face
Wow.
plant.
Ugh.
And came out unscathed except for cuts and bruises, and a blow to my ego because
Wow.
I'm in my 80th year and I feel 40. Um, so I've been going along great, and all of a sudden I missed the curb, and boom. Last time was on Fifth and Market in San Francisco, and this time it was right here in Alameda. So sucks for me,
Oh
but
man.
could be worse.
Right.
Um, let's introduce my guest. Eric Gray, you have been here 2 or 3 times. Um, what an editor you are. Thank you for being here,
Hey, thanks, Ralph. And hi, Paul.
Eric.
Hey, Eric. I'm so glad that you're an additive and not a
Eric
preservative.
Gray. I
So
can't hear
joining
you.
us,
Wait a minute.
author Eric Gray. So how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fine, thanks. Thanks, Paul.
Awesome.
Wait a minute,
Awesome.
guys. Here we go.
Oh, he's losing his hearing or his herring. He's losing his herring. All right.
Losing it all.
Not losing it all. So we're checking in with Eric because he's a writing fool. He's an author. He has 2 books under his belt and working on a third. Am I correct or am I incorrect?
No, that's correct.
Awesome. And
Uh,
I go ahead. Go ahead,
I
Ralphie.
was going to say it's been baseball and now music. Um, what a renaissance man you are.
Well, I think it's probably giving me a little bit too much credit. As you guys know, these are collections of all these books are collections of stories, mainly from other people. So um, my renaissance is based on the contribution of many others.
But we
Well,
also have to remember that's how stories get passed down, right? Before there was writing or printing and writing that kind of way. That's how people pass stories down is by telling them. And so you're doing it in the most grassroots kind of way there, Mr. Gray. So
Yeah, it took a while for me to really kind of maybe understand, um, and I don't make to make this sound grander than it is, kind of the impact of what that is in the small little world that that I know and that the people I know are in. That, as my wife always says, is we're putting voice to stories that might just simply get lost because they were never told to anybody. And
right.
it's been really very gratifying that people have just continued to share these great memories with me and to get them in a book that a few people will read and remember. It's like I used to tell my uncle, who was a fascinating guy and had incredible life experiences. I said, "You need to write these down." I said, "You're telling me things that you may never have told your kids, not because you were holding out on them, but they just never came up in conversation." And and he didn't, but it's kind of a lesson I've learned.
Right.
a lot of things I wish I would have gotten some answers from my dad. So,
Well, that's a really, really common thing. I was just talking to some guy yesterday, guy I've never met. We were talking about he's going to have a story in my book, and we were speaking, and he just went onto that thing about suggesting I do a book about World War II stories. I mean, I'm not interested in doing that, but but what I've kind of come to realize is that if you enjoy hearing people's stories, and it's not just the stories of celebrities, it's the stories of everyday people, you could do this kind of thing about anything. And one thing,
you're not giving yourself enough credit, Eric, because you have the kind of persona that makes people comfortable in sharing their experience. So, not everybody can do that. And the editing part is important as well. Um, so,
well,
please
yeah, I
know
mean,
that,
I'll take the compliment about how I am able to elicit stories from people and how they. I mean, look, you know this well. And there's going to be a chapter in the book, and I never got the story from him, but our good friend Rick Lenneberg, right?
yeah,
Who passed away, and his passing, as well as a few others, made me decide I want to do a chapter on in memoriam. And Rick told me a story about going to see a concert. I don't remember who it was, but the opening act was the Carpenters, who he'd never heard of before. Um, I unfortunately never got that story from him, but soon after meeting, I mean, he told me I was like, I don't know, in his two or three closest friends, and I had no idea how that happened, but I certainly was very you know proud
yeah.
about that.
And he had good musical taste because Karen Carpenter was multi talented. Not only did she have a beautiful voice, but she was a hell of a drummer.
Right.
And so anything that one reads in your books elicits memories that are priceless. Um, I mean, when I get off now, I'll just tune in, get a Karen Carpenter song in my head, or play a Carpenter song, and keep her memory alive a little bit.
Yep.
She's one of those, and entertainers, musicians, ball players too, die too fucking early. I mean, that's all relative. Some people live too long, and some people die too soon. And I don't remember how she passed, but I do remember how Mama Cass died, and
And they were
same kind of
reportedly the
voice.
opposite. They were reportedly the opposite, but that was kind of
Right.
a right.
Oh, I had no idea
And
about
so I
that.
have I have a great Karen Carpenter story. It's not really a Karen Carpenter story, but it kind of is. All right. So hopefully you guys can see me here. Um this is my Carpenter's album, and you can see I have a picture. Where is it? There's a picture of me, my mom, and Paul Williams,
The songwriter.
the
Yeah.
songwriter, the president of ASCAP, and the writer of a couple of their songs, including the hit "We've Only Just Begun."
Right.
And so I
Well,
interviewed him. I interviewed him in San Francisco 14, 15 years ago. And it was
yeah.
for a book that he was doing. And uh, he talked about Karen Carpenter and Richard Carpenter and working with them, and um, how he basically heard the jingle on a Crocker Bank commercial and then basically wrote it from there. Or he heard the melody and then was contracted to write the commercial for the Crocker Bank commercial. Sorry,
Okay.
and so
I know he wrote a couple of songs for Three Dog Night. Maybe
right.
Freedom for the Stallion. Maybe I'm not sure.
No, it was not the Jeremiah was a bullfrog song,
No,
but
no, no, no. It was
it's
not that.
the other one that Three Dog Night's known for.
Well, they're known.
Just an old fashioned love song.
That's right. That's the one. That's right. That's right.
Right.
Good. You guys are a good combination for a podcast. Both
Yeah.
musically inclined.
Well, Paul, I'll talk to you later about a couple of chapters that you might be able to contribute stories to, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, and don't worry, Ralph. We've taken the title "Dumber and Dumberer" for our podcast, so it's safe with us. Don't worry.
Okay. I'm so much relieved because you know how that's going to affect my life.
Yeah,
But
I know. I your zeal for
I
mediocrity.
feel for that. You know, one more thing about the Carpenters, the brother, it was
Richard, yeah.
Cubby. Didn't he play Cubby on?
Did he?
Uh,
On like Father Knows Best or one of those?
Was it
Or
Sky?
no,
Was it
it
Sky
was.
Masterson?
oh, the you mean on Disney on the Mickey Mouse Club?
Yes, yes. I think the
Really?
kid was
I was like, where
Cubby.
was Cubby from? Where was Cubby from? Yeah, that was the Mickey Mouse Club with Annette Funicello and stuff, right?
Annette Fuckerfellow. Excuse me. That was
That's an
came out
oldie
of
but a goodie. The
my
last time I heard that one, I fell off
that
my
came out of my
dinosaur and broke
teen
my wooden
years.
teeth.
That came out of my teen years, and I'm normally so shy.
Sure.
Tell us about the process of your book, Eric.
Okay. Well, as you guys know, and as I've talked about on your program before, I have these two baseball books, and Paul's got one of them there. It's Bases to Bleachers. Um,
And
this
I
is
have
my
it. I'll bring
second.
it up. Yeah, go ahead.
That's my second one, Backyards to Ballparks, and they're collections of stories from people all around the world, um, about all the stories have some kind of a connection to baseball. Often they're not play of game; they're just something that happened at a game or concerning baseball. And my wife's story in the second book was how my son and his wife FaceTimed us at a baseball game, and that's how they let us know that we were going to be grandparents. So, is that a baseball story? For the purpose of my book, it was because we were at a Giants game. And
Right.
what I came to realize, as I mentioned before, that if you like stories, you could write this kind of book about anything. And the first thing I thought of, it could be famous people you meet, or you know, proposals and weddings and honeymoons. That's something I've toyed with. But the thing that interested me most was, and still is, music. I love baseball. Music is so much more important to me than baseball. So I started.
Really.
Yeah.
Really.
Oh, absolutely. If you forced me to choose between the two, I wouldn't need a second to figure it out. And so then I started asking people to, about their stories. And the process is basically, I post on Facebook groups. I ask people that I meet on the streets. Obviously, I ask my friends and my family about, what music or concert stories, because it's not only about going to concerts. A lot of the stories are concert related, but they don't have to be. So, I've been doing this kind of off and on for about 7 or 8 years. In the last year, I've really kind of stepped it up and encouraging people, to give me their stories. And at some point, uh, natural categories form. If 8 or 9 people tell me about their first concert, well, that's a pretty obvious chapter, right? My first concert, like my first baseball game. Um, some could be about love and music, either falling in love at a concert or just sharing a song with somebody you love. I mean, these are some obvious chapters. And others, I find myself, as the stories come in, and I've gotten, many, many hundreds of stories, is I start looking for uh, common themes. I look for themes that these stories could fit into. And one of the chapters will be about the crazy stuff that happens on stage or the crazy stuff that happens in the audience. Um, Obviously, just like in my baseball book, where there's chapters on meeting the baseball player, in this case, it's meeting the musician. It could be a famous musician, or it could be somebody that nobody knows. One of my favorite stories, and it started with me as a DJ at college, is finding the record by this woman named Claire Hamill, who I've always thought of as a kind of a British Joni Mitchell.
Hmm.
And I loved her music. One of her albums was produced by Ray Davies from the Kinks. But I played her music. Long story short, I met her at a radio station in Denver where I was trying to interview for a disc jockey job and where she had come in to do an on air interview. I listened to the interview. I said something to her when she came out. She gave me tickets for a concert. I'm obviously abbreviating this story pretty quickly. Um, I met up with my friend, and this is in Colorado, in the Garden of the Gods, and I wrote a poem for her. I gave it to her at the concert. We met for tea afterwards, and that was it. Until about 40 years later, when a friend suggested I try to contact her, and I did. And my wife and I met her for lunch in London last year, 50
Oh
years later.
wow.
And, you know, people don't know Claire Hamill, and that's really too bad because she's a pretty great songwriter. A lot of my favorite songwriters are people that are most don't know, and that's too bad. Um, But if I had met Mick Jagger, it would not have meant nearly as much to me as meeting Claire Hamill because I had that, you know, that personal interest in her music far more than, yeah, I like Get Off My Cloud and I like Beast of Burden and all that stuff, but it doesn't hit me emotionally like Claire's did. So stories could be about meeting the stars or just meeting the musicians. It could be about putting on a concert. The people that work backstage, the sound, the lighting. The
That's what I was gonna say. Do you have anybody that experienced grip work or, like you say, lighting or
I've got a
uh,
couple of stories about putting on the show. One guy who worked in security, it's quite a story. Another guy, he may give me the story about catering at concerts, but no, I don't have enough of those. So there are chapters that I'm hoping I can fill out a little bit. And the chapters I realize I just can combine them into one. I thought I would have far more. Look, the majority of the stories are going to be about, boomer rock. Okay. Not only those were the people I know, but so many people that obviously, based on their demographics, they might like Latin music or they might like, hip hop or soul and younger people. I think I said that already. I don't get the stories from them. It's not like I haven't tried. I will probably have a chapter. I know I'm kind of like sailing all over the place here. I'm probably going to have not a chapter, but a piece about the stories that I didn't get because I remember so many of the people that I met and spoke to. I met a woman. She was a barista at a coffee shop in Raleigh, North Carolina, and she was wearing. I don't remember for sure, but I think she was wearing a Bad Bunny T-shirt, and I told her about this book I'm writing. I said, "Why do you like Bad Bunny so much?" And she kind of went on to explain that she's from Puerto Rico and she feels very represented by him. I never got her story, and there's only so much that she told me. You know, it's so if the book skews very white, 60s, 70s rock, it's not for lack of effort to make it much broader. So I've got this, probably I will make a chapter that combines, and there is, in a way, a natural link here that combines British invasion stories, Motown or other soul of the 60s, and folk music from the 60s. I mean, they're very distinct, but they all formed, kind of a major portions of 60s music. So that's how this kind of comes about. I sit in front of me. with all these hundreds and hundreds of stories. I start putting them into piles that represent chapters, and sometimes the chapters morph. There's a story that I have, it's one of mine that's in a chapter, and I've decided to move it to another one. It's the process of, it's editing individual stories, but it's also editing, if you will, the structure of the book.
Right, right. Let me ask both of you guys. My guy in music, besides the Stones, the Beatles, and this, that, and the other thing, is Mose Allison. I know that Eric is a Jackson Brown guy, his main guy. Am I right about that, Eric?
The Beatles and Jackson Brown, that's absolutely correct.
Okay. Mine is the Stones with Muddy Waters and Mose. How about you, Paulie?
Well, let me see here. There's just too many. So it was funny because when Eric actually said, "Oh, I could be," it's definitely music over baseball. I was gonna throw in the point of, yeah, I mean, if I'm stuck on a desert island, do I want like the whatever World Series on a video that I could watch over, or do I want just one song on an iPod or something that I could play over and over? And it would definitely be music, even if it was just that one song. And where am I? I'm all over the map. I'm definitely the classic rock guy. Even the British Invasion. He was talking about even just Jackson Brown. There's something homegrown here. Jackson Brown. I've got a lot of my vinyl right underneath me. I literally could probably find every one of these artists and just whip them out and go, boom, here's an album. And it's because they not only formed a generation, they formed my formative years. I mean, they made me into the person I am today. Every bit of music, it was a badge of honor or of rebellion, of love. Music just conveys so much. And again, trying to compare music to baseball is like apples and oranges.
Right.
It's impossible to do, but the right answer is apples. And to answer your other question, who's the person I hold the most affinity for? Okay, so I used to do this thing for years. I would wake up and play Blue Train by John Coltrane. And so that was like, I could hear the trumpet right off. A lot of Dave Brubeck, a lot of stuff like that. But then I am the classic rock guy. I'm totally, which I don't even know if you can see, but I have a Beatles there. I have Beatles there. I have Beatles there. I have Beatles there. Shit, I have a lot of Beatles. I would have to
Deservedly
say,
so.
I would have to say, if I was to be left with one CD, it would probably be the Beatles, because they
Album?
really,
The White Album.
if it was an original album and I didn't get like, what is it, the greatest hits of everything,
Right.
because I would want everything, but I'd also want some deep cuts.
Well, when you
I'm
said
all over the place.
when you said it would be the Beatles, are you talking about the White Album? Because the White Album is actually called the Beatles.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You're saying the Beatles in general.
The Beatles in general, and if I was to pick a particular album, man, that's a hard one to do, isn't it?
I've got mine.
I think it would be Abbey Road. It would be Abbey Road. It would be Sgt. Pepper Boat, but it would be Abbey Road. It would be Abbey Road, because that whole album takes you on such a journey all the way to the end. of the
Side
end.
two. Side two. That's
Right.
sweet. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Right.
Mm.
So
Hey, how about Little Feat, guys?
I don't know them well. I have a collection, something. Oh, turn it and close
I
it.
have Little Feet. I have Canned Heat. I have a lot of those early Mariah Heat kind of rock. That's good
Mm.
stuff too. That's kind of like I don't know. That's good working man's rock. that's
Mm.
like
So,
that's like Bachman Turner Overdrive taking care of business kind of feeling. It's
and you
like,
know where
oh,
they're
let's get this shit done.
and you know where they're from, right? You know where
Uh,
Bachman is from, right?
uh, as in geographically, or do you
No.
mean what band?
What band?
Well, Bachman was from. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. It wasn't Credence. Oh shit! I should know. So that's how many years it's been. Go ahead.
Guess who?
The Guess Who, which I love. The Guess Who.
Yeah, we just saw Burton Cummings in concert a couple of months ago. He and Alan Clark from the Hollies have, in my opinion, the greatest unsung voices in rock and roll. So when Abbey Road was always my favorite album, not just my favorite Beatles album, my favorite album. And
Right.
then Jackson Browne put out his second album in '73 called For Every Man. And I started getting extremely uncomfortable. Like, oh my God, do I like something more than I like Abbey Road? I felt like a traitor. And then he put out his third album, Late for the Sky, which is his all-time classic. And at that point, I just decided to stop feeling guilty. And Abbey Road and those two Jackson Browne albums are my favorite records of all time.
Beautiful,
So
beautiful.
I will let me tell you how I wrote the introduction or much of the introduction to the book long before I had many stories. And it goes essentially something like this. On December 10th, I got to school. December 10th, in a way, changed my life. And then I say, does anybody know what that is? Nobody will know what that date is. December 10th, I got to school. It was a Monday morning, and all the kids were talking about what they'd seen on the Ed Sullivan Show the night before the Beatles. And I had no idea what they were talking about. I was not listening to music, and I hadn't seen Ed Sullivan. And when the Beatles came on the following week, because most of you know that the Beatles were on 3 weeks in a row. When they came
Oh, I
on
thought it was two.
three
That's
weeks, 3 weeks in a row. One of
huh.
them was taped from a segment in Miami or something or other, but they were on 3 Sundays in a row. And I watched that, and as I say in the introduction, I don't exactly remember what my reaction was. I can't remember if I was shaking a little bit, if my eyes glazed over, if I started drooling. I don't know what it was, but I do know that my life changed then and there because nothing ever again mattered as much to me, except for family and friends, of course, as music. And that's how my introduction begins. Just that
Oh, there
day
you
when
go.
my life changed.
Okay. Beatles made it okay for me to try weed, and
Vic, do me a favor. Reset your mic. I'm sorry, bud.
okay, here I go.
No problem. That's what we do. That's what we do.
Just
All right. There you go again.
all right. The Beatles made it possible for me to accept weed as my longtime friend and constant companion. And I'm very grateful that they had um, the experimental side in them. That it wasn't just the music; it was changing your consciousness when need be.
Well,
And
and it was even more than that. I mean, the Beatles were a huge cultural force in so many ways, whether it was style, in fashion, whether it's getting somewhat involved in politics on their music. Not a lot, but some. I mean, even a song like George Harrison's, you know, Taxman. Obviously, that was political commentary. Um, they
Right.
they had so much to do with changing culture, and every once in a while, when I see somebody say something ridiculous like, the Beatles were the first boy band, I don't even know how to react to that. Basically, the answer is you're entitled to not like them. That's taste and preference. But to say that they were not the amazing cultural force that they became is just ignorant.
Who is your favorite Beatles? Both of you. Both of you.
I'm sorry, Ralph, you're breaking up. I don't hear you.
Yeah, you did. But I think his question was, "Who's your favorite Beatle?" And
Oh
he
man,
asked both of us, and that's hard to ask. That's hard to answer because I have an answer for each one of them.
yeah, it for me it's changed over time. I for a long time it was Paul because honestly I'm not really into harder rock. Not that the Beatles were hard rock, although they certainly. I mean, supposedly, a Helter Skelter was the first heavy metal song because they could do anything they wanted, they felt like doing. Um, but for a while, it was Paul. The night that Lennon was killed, it was funny because my wife and I, it was the first time that we both were traveling for work at the same time, and we were in different cities and had no idea how to get a hold of each other. And I remember how traumatic that was. That night started to make me realize that John was really
Your
epitomized what
guy,
the Beatles were. I don't know that he was
right?
my guy, but I realized at that point that he is what made the Beatles so different, right? And my three favorite Beatles songs, and I don't think I manufactured this. My three favorite Beatles songs, my favorite song of all time is Let It Be, and there are reasons for that. And the second is Across the Universe by John, and the third is While My Guitar Gently Weeps by George. And
Right,
very conveniently, again, not artificially manufactured.
right.
One of my three favorite Beatles songs are one by each of them. That puts me at rest.
Well, and then
Yeah.
even one of my favorite odd ones, Octopus's Garden, is sung by Ringo. And so and Ringo's got the staying power. And if you look at him right now, he's great. I love Ringo. When you see him in an interview, he's on
Dude,
top of it.
he, he has a way about him that bring. Although they were all superstars, he has a way about him where he shows his humanity in every interview.
And
And
I've got a lot of his solo albums, and he does great pop. I mean, he
Right.
really does. I mean, some of his songs are really great. They just, nobody knows him unless you're a Ringo file and you buy his albums. But he's got the song Time After Time and Weight of the World. I mean, these are just terrific songs. And he was the one who never ran away from his Beatles heritage. I mean, his songs are loaded with references to Beatles songs and to John and Paul and George. I mean, he never shied away from knowing why he made it so big. And
And
very
he and
talented
he
too.
loves and I love that he has the all-stars that represent everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so
and he never got involved with the little spats that those three other guys showed that they were spoiled brats on a lot of levels and still are the living ones. Um, he isn't that. And he always gave credit, as you say, to his companions.
Well, he
And I
he
love
did.
him.
And he was no
I'll
slouch as a
change.
drummer, by the way. I mean, he wasn't just
Oh, a
along for the ride.
fantastic drummer.
Yeah, he wasn't.
And
Yeah, I'm just saying, if you ask a lot of rock drummers, they will say that Ringo was a great one.
right.
right,
And
because it was so unorthodox and the
Right,
left-handed kit and everything, right?
right.
when Paul makes reference to replacing Peter Best, he doesn't downgrade best. He says in many different ways how surprised they were when all of a sudden, you know, he's behind them and they were surprised at how great he was.
Right.
So he doesn't have any detractors, and I love him. Same question. Rolling Stones, your favorite guy?
Keith Richards.
All right, me too.
And
I don't
I
know.
think it's because Mick was that guy for a minute, but you know, it's the over the long haul kind of thing, and seeing where they've been. Uh, what was okay? So I'm sorry. So why am I dropping? Why am I forgetting his first name? Wood.
Ronnie.
Thank
Running,
you,
yeah.
Ronnie Wood. I think of too because I think of wasn't he with Jeff Beck and Rod Stewart and
He was with the Faces, right?
right the Faces, and so but no, I think my guy is definitely Keith Richards just because of the kind of person he is. Um, I've always liked Matt Jagger, but I usually don't go with let's say the most popular vote.
Uh, yeah, I don't have a favorite. I mean, I don't want to say I'm indifferent to the band. I mean, I've got some of their albums. I've obviously got a variety of collections. I think they've done some incredible stuff, but I'm not a fan of the Stones. Um, I could more easily tell you my favorite songs by them than I could tell you whether I like Jagger or Richards or Wyman or Watts. That doesn't it does they don't hit me on a personal level.
Right.
Okay. Hey guys, good time to do some business. When we come back, I'm going to ask you, Eric, and if Paul has a response, fine. But what's your favorite baseball song? So think about that for a while, and Paulie's going to do some business. We are lawyered up.
There we go. Like the man says, we're doing that thing, and I'll let him reset his mic while we're doing this. You guys, we are lawyered up here at Zig in the Zone, and cue that commercial, Mr. DJ. Whether it's criminal defense, estate planning, or civil litigation, the answer is the law offices of Andrew Doja. Call us today at 510-865-1600 or find us on the web at dojalaw.com.
For tenant and landlord disputes, there's no other than the law office of Jeff Canberra. Call now 1-510-865-7369 and don't forget to tell them Zig sent you.
That is right. Don't forget to tell them Zig sent you. But also, we also want you to go like, subscribe, and ring that little bell wherever that can happen. Please go to Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and now on Twitch. Go like, subscribe, and ring that little bell. That way you'll be notified whenever we drop a new episode just for you. And as always, we're going to segue from that right over to Zig Says. Ziggy, do your thing. Oh, Ziggy. That was your cue. Tell us about Zig Says. Can you hear me, Ziggy? He can't hear me. All right. I'm going to do it. Zig Says, please give to your local Head Start program. A lot of these programs for helping children get ready to succeed in school and in life are in danger. So please, I know you have some new or some lightly loved children's books that you can go donate to your local Head Start program. Reach out to them. Again, a lot of these programs are being cut. So it takes a village to raise our children. So please give to your local Head Start program. And Ziggy, we're back. Are you back, buddy?
I am back.
All right, cool. So All right, guys, we're back. And wow, what a break. Yes, we're all lawyered up. Did the Zig Says thing, and we're back here. So your question, Zig, was what's
Well,
our
my
favorite?
question for Eric, what's your favorite baseball song? And Eric thought about it for a while, and he's going to tell us.
Paul, did you give your answer to that?
Yeah, I was going to say Center Field by Fogerty.
Okay.
I think. Now you're going to say something, and I'm going to go, no, that one.
No, well, oh yeah, well, it's not going to be that one. I love that song. Last year, I go to a baseball conference every year, and last year I decided to make a presentation about the intersection of baseball and music. That's a pretty natural fit for me in terms of my interest and even how the books are going. So I did a lot of research, and I found I originally thought, how am I going to fill 20 minutes? And then it's like, how am I going to make this presentation less than 4 hours? There's so much music out there about the Beatles. There's so much music out there about baseball. And one of the things I said, Paul, was, well, you all know center field, but did you know that there's a song called Right Field by Peter, Paul, and Mary? Anyway, I discovered so much music. And as I said, I did a 20-minute presentation. And I think the song I don't remember the title of it now. I do remember. The song that moved me the most was a song by the hip hop guy Macklemore. It's called My Oh My. And it was about a famous game when the Mariners they were in the playoffs, and it was just incredibly famous game. Um, and interestingly enough, that game, I have a story from a friend of mine who was guest services for the Mariners, and he was standing on the dugout when Ken Griffey slid home with the winning run. I mean, it was an amazing game. And Macklemore's song "My Oh My" is absolutely stunning, and I'm getting chills just thinking about that song. So I absolutely recommend anybody to look at "My Oh My" if you want to be moved.
Okay,
It was phenomenal.
And
let
it's
me just interject some.
And it's Macklemore, which is kind of funny because that's a newer artist, and I wouldn't have thought you would have went that way.
Well, it's because of the research I did on online, just looking for baseball songs, and lists came up, and I tried that one, and oh, good God, what a song!
Wow.
Okay, anybody remember the song that Danny Kaye did
Of course,
about the Giants and
of
Dodgers?
course.
You want to laugh? Keep talking. Keep talking. Go ahead.
Okay.
Keep going. Yeah, I do.
Miller, Miller, Haller, Killer, Hiller goes to Miller, Miller goes to Hiller, da 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 da, and up comes Frank Howard. Um, a great, you know how there's always in any baseball conversation, things can go from here to there. You mentioned Peter, Paul, and Mary twice
Hmm.
in this conversation. First concert I ever saw was at the Sacramento Community Center or whatever, or the Sacramento Auditorium in 1966 when I first came out to California in the Air Force. And I got to see Peter, Paul, and Mary. Unbelievable thrill because they were part of my introduction to folk music. And you know how a kid forms his what he likes and what he believes in. I spent um, the previous 3 or 4 years getting into Peter, Paul, and Mary, and they did some wonderful stuff. You mentioned a Peter, Paul, and Mary song, right? I've never heard that, so I'm inspired to look it up on
Right
YouTube.
field.
Right field.
Okay, and I want to share this with you since I have it in my hand. Would you believe it? I
Great.
have the Dodger song. Oh, really? No, O'Malley.
It's great. My
Oh
kids actually
no,
have that memorized. It's that great a song.
It's
yes,
literally, I literally have that 45 sitting 5 feet away from me.
wow. I'm
Isn't that
glad to
crazy? It's
inspire
reprised.
memories.
That is crazy.
That is
That is
wild.
nice. Um,
Little
Danny
Dan
Kaye
K.
was terrific, by the way. Other than that baseball song, um, I saw him at Radio City Music Hall in a movie. Um, can't think of the name of it, but um,
No, he was pretty. He
anyway,
was pretty amazing.
yes, he was. And so, how are we doing time wise?
We're at that point. We're at that 1 hour mark, so we're good.
Okay.
So let's
Um,
make sure we get Eric to do his last minute plugs and tell us what's going on. And I've got one of his books queued up for us. So go ahead, Eric, take it away.
Did you want me to read a story, Ralph, or do you want to wait till
Oh
next time
yeah,
for that?
please do. No, please do.
yes,
Go for it.
please do. If we can, it's okay with Paul time wise. I love. I forgot about your story and would love to hear it.
Okay. Well, I've got. I don't think we have time for this, but I've got three ready to go. I know the one I'll read. If you want me to read another short one, I can do that as well. But let me. This is from the chapter that's called "My Greatest Concert," and I feel that this is literally one of the greatest concerts that was ever held. Um, and here it is. On August 1st, 1971, I scored two tickets to what I'm convinced is the greatest concert of all time, in terms of the amount of talent on one stage at one time. It was the first ever benefit concert, George Harrison's concert for Bangladesh, inspired by the request of his friend and sitar mentor, Ravi Shankar. On stage with a former Quiet Beatle were his former bandmate Ringo Starr, Eric Clapton, Bob Dylan, Billy Preston, Leon Russell, my second favorite band, Badfinger, as the acoustic section, along with other stellar backup singers and session players. Shankar opened the show with a set of Indian music, and then George took the stage. He led the band in a number of his great songs from All Things Must Pass, and as the DV notes remind me, his three most famous Beatles songs, While My Guitar Gently Weeps with Clapton on lead guitar, as he had done on the White Album, Something, and accompanied by only Pete Ham of Badfinger, Here Comes the Sun. That was a particular thrill for me. Russell led the band with a rousing jumping jack flash, and Billy Preston, the only non-Beatle to be credited playing on a Beatles album, sang That's the Way God Planned It. Ringo sang his first hit, It Don't Come Easy, and Dylan sang four of his songs, including Blowing in the Wind. The rumors have been swirling that John Lennon would join on stage. I was at the early show and kept waiting to see if he would appear. When he didn't, I wondered if he would show up at the late show. He didn't. His failure to appear meant that he would ultimately be the only Beatle I would never see in concert. The girl I was dating, Jody, turned to me at one point and said, in the most stereotypical New York accent, "Oh, this is so loud." All I could do is look at her in disbelief and think to myself, "Oh, you're so not the one for me." But there's one moment that stands out in my memory, and as I write the story, just as during each of the million times I've told it, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. His last song was Bangladesh, and the refrain, sung several times, was "We've got to relieve Bangladesh." When he sang that line for the last time, took his guitar off and placing it gently in the stand, he in his whitish suit and orange shirt, and walked off stage, left. The roar, the ovation was so thunderous that I can still hear it, feel it today, 54 years later. I had seen greatness in music, and I had seen this great man and all these great artists give their time and effort and heart to this benefit concert to raise money for that country then and still now in desperate need. I've gone to so many concerts with family and friends that have been memorable and important to me, but this concert, and especially that last moment, will always stay with me as the greatest of all time.
Well,
I
may
thought
I
that's
re-
good story. I thought Ralphie was gonna keel over in the middle of it though, with your Jewish
uh,
accent.
Right.
Oh, it's absolutely fantastic. And I think I know that woman and her
That's what I was afraid you were gonna
and her
say.
sisters and her cousins and my cousins and my sister-in-law. Um, Incredible accent, and it was so spontaneous.
Oh,
Um,
it was a
I love
remarkable
it.
moment. I can't say
Yeah.
that I'm fonder of that moment than the entire concert, but it's one I'll never forget.
Oh, you can't forget that. Oh, it's so loud.
Oh, this is so loud.
And then I have a digital copy for the Songs for Bangladesh concert. And I have not opened the seal because, and it's funny because it should be right in front of me and I can't see it on my shelf. I think I put it in my room so nobody would open it. But
It,
yeah, what a great concert that was.
Yeah, unbelievable. And again, for me, Badfinger, people don't understand this. Badfinger is my second favorite band. And most
Because
people,
of the Beatle esque sound.
well, that was their entry, obviously, and each of the Beatles worked with them. Um, but no, this just their own sound. The whole story of Badfinger. I don't know if you know it. It's a very tragic tale. I mean, that's what the name of the CD is, or the DVD. You know, the Beatles kind of ignored them. I mean, they weren't bad to them, but Apple Records was going through such a trauma that they didn't really pay as much attention to them as they should have. Their personal manager screwed the living daylights out of them. Their lead singer, well, there were three lead singers, but the guy who I think is the leader of the group, Pete Ham. By the way, if you watch the concert for
Oh.
Bangladesh and when you watch George Harrison do Here Comes the Sun, he's accompanied by one person and one person only. That's Pete Ham from Badfinger. Um, Pete took his life at the age of, ready for this, 27. Yes, he's a member of the 27
The
Club.
Seven Club, right.
And the second guitarist killed himself 9 years later the same way. Um, the last guy from Badfinger, who I met several times, died a couple of months ago. So I was in kind of mourning for that. They were just a great, great band who nobody knows. If you ask people, do you like Badfinger? I love Badfinger. They know four songs by them. Um, but man, anybody that wants to go deeper with Badfinger, all they have to do is ask me, and I'll tell them. They were just a great band, and you probably
So
know the
did
song.
Peter Ham when Peter Ham took his life, was he with Badfinger?
Yeah, but they
Okay.
were so discouraged by their manager having screwed them out of so much money. He couldn't take it anymore, and he left a note that said, Stan Polly, you soulless bastard, I'm taking you with me. It was just tragic, and I
Didn't
but
one did one of the if you know did one of the band members from America take his life?
I know there are only two of the three that are performing. I do not know if the third one is has passed away or not, or if he just left the band.
Because I
I don't
think
know.
I'm remembering the story about Peter Ham and putting it together with somebody that was in the group America.
Yeah, could be.
And then what was the guy that actually blew himself up with his guitar over over a heater?
I
What
don't
group
know
was
that one.
that?
I don't know
Oh
that one.
God. Oh, I forget who that was too.
I
But he
don't know
was
that one.
practicing his electric guitar standing above a floor furnace that had a gas leak.
Wow.
oh, wow.
And that was
Reminds
like
me of that.
that was a band from the
Do you,
60s.
do you want me to read another one? That's
Yes,
up to you.
please.
Sure.
Yes, go
Should
for
I
it.
read one that's really emotional, or should I read one that's kind of funny?
Kind of funny and emotional.
So you want them both?
Yeah.
You want them both?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do I have time for both?
Sure, go
Yes.
for it.
Oh,
And then do me a favor, just reset your mic one more time. I heard one little glitch, but it's probably fine. But I
you're
want to make
talking to
sure
Ralph,
you make
right? You're talking to Ralph.
right,
Okay.
Ralph, for sure.
So
There
How's
this
we
that?
go.
story,
Better?
Perfect. Thank you, Ralph. Go
this
for it.
story, this story is a guy that I spoke to, I messaged with a number of years ago, and about 6 months ago, I contacted him again, and we've developed a little bit of a relationship. And this is his story. In the 90s, my son Ari introduced me to the band Toad the Wet Sprocket. Their song, I Will Not Take These Things for Granted, was one of our favorites. It tops the list of the soundtrack to our lives as it came up at various times. There was one special time. Ari was 17 and he called me at 4 in the morning because he had spun out on an unlit local street which has sharp curves everywhere. I got there in minutes, and as we hugged by the side of the road, a red convertible with its top down flew around the curve past us. Blaring from that car was the exact part of the chorus that sings, I will not take these things for granted. We stood there amazed at the coincidence and the meaning of the song when he was in that situation. We felt like it was a message from God. It became a very special song to us. He had it tattooed on his arm. Ari tragically passed away last year. I belong to a Toad and Glenn Phillips, who's the songwriter, Facebook groups. I posted the story and asked how to contact Glenn. When I did, I received the nicest reply. Todd will be playing here on October 2nd, the day of the break fast for Yom Kippur. The song was not on the tour set list, but Glenn said he would add it to as the encore, dedicating it to Ari. At 67, I'm getting it tattooed on my arm. If he's out there, Ari will be listening and smiling down. And that's from Scott Blitz from Baltimore, Maryland. And to end my little storytelling, let me read this one. Another woman who I've met through Facebook based music groups, and we become pretty good friends as well. My earliest memories include awareness of music. I had music-loving parents. Mom played piano, dad was a drummer. When we were young, in the 50s, my parents had the first and only hi-fi in the neighborhood. They threw parties that nobody missed because there was music. Records were jazz, and any soundtrack to whatever show they had seen on Broadway. So the soundtrack to my earliest years was Ella, Miles, Mel, Frank, Brubeck, My Fair Lady, etc. And of course, classical music. The Beatles came around when I was in grade school, and I was immediately hooked. My music. My perfect parents got a turntable just for me. My aunt was marketing VP at Screen Gems, so when the Monkees were coming to Miami the summer of 1967, she sent us a dozen tickets. With rolling eyes and a smile on their faces, my parents loaded up the cars with me and my brothers and a couple of friends each. We were absolutely giddy, acting like all the girls you see in old Beatles footage. Why do we have to give away Monkees stage time to an opening act anyway? And who is this band, the Jimi Hendrix Experience? We lamented. This was my first concert, July 9th, 1967. I was 14 years old. The curtain opened, and this colorful fellow with only two musicians on stage, the first notes on that guitar, Purple Haze, if memory serves, gave me goosebumps. I had never heard anything like this before, never had anyone dressed that way. I had to stand. It was so compelling, although it took quite a few minutes to wrap my head around what I was hearing, to understand what Hendrix was doing. I stood the whole time staring, mouth agape, stone still. As the moments went by, my brain exploded. The epiphany was complete. I understood what I was hearing, and it was speaking directly to me. It woke up my soul. And that drummer, that bassist, who knew bass was so important? Though I loved the Beatles and knew their songs by heart, I never really listened to the instruments. For the first time, I was listening to each individual instrument and understood the synergy created as they were brought together. So I thought to myself, this is what a guitar is for. Later, when the Monkees came on, with tears in my eyes, I sat down and resented them playing. I wanted to process and remember what I had heard. No offense to the Monkees, they're on XM here, and in retrospect, I can hear they did some good stuff. That was it. Truly an enlightening experience, a paradigm shift, and I discovered my religion of rock and roll. I walked into the venue a squealing, bubblegum chewing little teeny bopper, and I walked out a long hair rocker that had aged a decade in one night. To this day, I still listen to classical and Brubeck's Day Take Five, but first, foremost, and always, I'm a rocker. This little story comes from a grateful daughter who would thank open minded parents who never, not once, said they just don't write music like they used to, and who never told me to turn down the stereo, and who I would find dancing in the living room to my Santana and an occasional necking session to Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And that's from Kathy Matai, who lives near Miami, Florida. And those are some examples of kind of the breadth of stories that are going to be included in this book. And that I'm going to be so proud to publish.
There you go. And another good story, you know. It's funny because here Jimi Hendrix was an unknown at that time.
Right.
Zig, Zig,
Hey, I just want to say, you
Zig. You need to reset.
just
Sorry, buddy.
you can hear me right. I just wanted to see if you can hear me right.
All right, so I just cut his mic so we won't have to hear that. So I'll let you reset while you're doing that. Here's a couple Jimi Hendrix things I have laying around, and you're gonna have to reset your mic again because that didn't work really well. This is a film about Jimi Hendrix, the deluxe edition. I got Jimmy Plays Berkeley. What do I got? I've got a Hendrix one, Band of Gypsies, Hendrix. What else? And Jimmy Plays the Dick Cavett Show. And so, you know, and I've got my vinyl too. So, and absolutely. And what I want to do is I want to unmute you because I actually can still hear him squelching. So, absolutely. Well, that's what we're going to do next is I want you to get your email out there. And it sounds like he fixed his problem. Woohoo. That's what we do here. All right. So, Eric, read that email out to us.
Yeah, if anybody has a story they'd like to contribute, I mean, I'm pretty far into the book, but I have room for more stories, especially in some chapters. If you have a story, if you want to know more about what this project is, you can contact me in several ways. You can contact me through email, and my email address, it's long, but it's simple. It's Eric, ERIC, dot concert stories, one word, concert stories in plural, of course, at gmail.com. Eric.concertstories@gmail.com. You can message me through
Okay.
Messenger or find me on Facebook. If you look at Ralph's, if we're not friends already, if you look at Ralph's page and look for his friends, you can find me there as well.
And
And
we
Paul
have
too. And Paul too. I'm friends with Paul as well.
absolutely, and we have Eric's name up there. It's under Eric C. Gray on Facebook, but definitely there's that. Um, Thank you very much. Hold up your other book. I know that you still have the other ones there too. You have Backyards to Ballparks,
Right. You want me to get the other one?
and I got the other one right here, Bases to
You do.
Bleachers. There you go. And you can get
Beautiful.
both of those on Amazon. Eric, it's always a pleasure to have you along. Zig, I know you want to pipe in. Go for it, buddy. It sounds like you're sounding
I
better
just
now.
want to pipe in one thing that you guys were talking about musicians or singers that have ended their lives, their own lives in their prime. I want to mention Phil Oakes. Big part of my musical experience over the years. And he was one of those who committed suicide. And who knows the pain that goes on in someone's head when they end it. So I'm not being judgmental of him. It was like when Robin Williams first died, first committed suicide. I was flabbergasted. I thought he had kids. He was doing, copping out on life. And then I realized what I read was the illnesses that consumed his life. So I'm not making judgments about anybody who decides that enough is enough, but I mourn their decisions, some reasons, and sucks. Life can suck. But this, my sign off. Keep your humor dry, everybody. Keep your your dreams wet and your kids off the laps of clerics. And that simplifies things if you think about it. So if I leave you with one thing today, what I leave you with a lot. Keep that in mind. The humor doesn't have to be ha 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 ha. It can be dry and it can be understated. And keep your dreams wet is goes without saying, and I'll repeat: keep your kids off the laps of clerics. It doesn't work out. If you check it out, there are hundreds of groups that are supporting getting retribution against um, against folks where it just doesn't work. And I suggest that if, say, the Catholic Church, for instance, if they liquidated, there would be enough money in their properties and in their existence to feed the hungry, educate the curious, and take care of the homeless in the world. That's how much they control. And they can still pray at home. The people can. But you would eliminate a lot of the little boys club bullshit that really suppresses our lives, because there are people that we don't know that went through a whole bunch of stuff, and we just think, well, they're assholes. They're closed down assholes. We don't think why. And it's not just the Catholic, believe me. So a lot of it is by the numbers, but it's all kinds of organized religion, Sunday schools and stuff that give people the opportunity, if they're to be around kids that they shouldn't be. Teaching groups and what have you. And so it's your duty as a parent or guardian to accompany your kids to all of the stuff that I'm talking about. The stuff's great, and I'm reassured that the kid is getting what they need spiritually and not be affected by the clerics that oftentimes wear dresses. So that's your clue. But excuse my rambling, but I'm only on once a week. And I'm getting older. So I got to get the shit out there. And,
Well, there you go.
Thank you, by the way, to the two lovely ladies, my friends at Starbucks, who I limped into, bleeding from the cut on my nose and my palms and shit. And they were nice enough to take care of me. And I just want to thank Natalie and Brittany. Um, I offered them the privilege of being their foster grandfather if they need one. So I will always be there for them. They were there for me. And um, you guys were terrific today. You let me ramble.
Not a problem, man. I'm glad that there's still good people in the world doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is, not just looking the other way and helping others. So
I know. I had this conversation with someone who worded it exactly like that. Another uh, acquaintance. And I, when I say that, isn't it so sad that there aren't, it isn't everybody.
it's a commodity nowadays to find people that are genuine, that are not self-absorbed in their phone or their device or their life, that they realize they're just another person roaming this planet along with the rest of us. So it's a good thing to know.
Hey, if you're in
I agree.
Alameda, go into. You're absolutely right. If you're in Alameda and down at Shoreline Boulevard, um, there's an outdoor mall with a Starbucks, and Starbucks gets a lot of. Uh, it's a bad rep because they're corporate owned folks, but you have to consider that everyone isn't alike. And what makes them different is the people. And Natalie is the manager, and she has a crew that is just special. And obviously, these two people, Natalie and Brittany, stand out to me right now. And I am incredibly appreciative because I'm getting old, I'm vulnerable, and they saw that and weren't judgmental, didn't laugh
Right.
at me.
Right.
What can I say? So thank you for those two women, and thanks for being here, Eric. I'm very appreciative.
Always a
Appreciative.
pleasure spending time with you and Paul.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank
Always.
that's
you, Eric,
nice
for
to
being
hear.
here.
Oh,
Appreciate it.
Uh, just what you
And you
said warms my heart.
There you go. And then you guys keep doing what you're doing. It is the holiday season again. Realize that there's others on this planet. Uh, Try to help your fellow human beings. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle or the world they're on. Reach out and do that thing that's the world of giving. I want to thank you guys for being a part of this show. I appreciate you, Zig. I appreciate you, Eric. And I think we're at that point. We're out of here. Until next
All
week,
right.
you guys stay in the
So
zone. We'll see you next week.
we'll be there. Thank you
Yes, sir.
again. Subscribe. Tell your friends.
Exactly. All right, guys. See you later.